welcome to the first ever episode of Screamers, a brand new weekly women's football podcast. I'm Jessie.
I'm Maya.
And I'm Honor, and each week we'll be getting stuck into all the latest from across the women's game.
We're all huge fans of women's football, and we want to spare our friends more conversations in the pub and instead share our obsession with you. From the latest WSL games and what's going on in the Championship and National League to the Champions League and international fixtures.
Basically, whether you're a die-hard women's football fan, freezing in this awful weather in the stands every week, or you just occasionally like watching Ella Toon on the TV, we will have fun, definitely chaotic chat about the players you already know and love.
As well as interesting stories to introduce you to teams and leagues you just don't know about yet. And since we all met playing grassroots football, we want to shine a light on game changers and absolute ballers at every level of the women's football scene.
So, for our first episode, we are going to look back at the first half of the WSL season, check in on all the latest goings on in the transfer window, and chat about what we want to see for women's football in 2025.
But before all that, shall we probably introduce ourselves? Jessie, you want to go first?
No, I absolutely do not want to go first. Thank you for putting me on the spot there. Right, I am Jessie. I'm from London, despite the accent. Lifelong Liverpool fan, men's and women's. Soft spot for Arsenal women, but it's balanced out by absolute hatred for Arsenal men. Been playing football all my life, been watching football all my life. Absolute gobshite on the pitch, and some could say off
Confirmed.
it as well.
Honor?
So I'm relatively new to being a football fan, so I didn't have a team growing up. And then I lived in East London when I started supporting a football team, so I chose West Ham, as you do. But I have a massive soft spot, which is still growing, for Nottingham Forest, who my mum supports. Like many newer fans, my intro to football, women's football specifically, was Euros.
The Euros. Also, such a sliding doors moment. Imagine if you moved elsewhere in London. Who would you have supported? You could have been a Chelsea fan, Honor, if you'd
Can
moved
you
to West
imagine?
London.
She could have been having bottomless brunch.
Bottomless brunch. More on that later, everybody. The bottomless brunch at the bridge.
I'm my Arsenal fan from North London, born and raised. Currently out with the longest ankle injury that's ever existed.
No, I'm the one with the dodgy knees. not
Sorry,
you.
yes. And I wish I could say I did it doing something cool, but I actually did it dancing to Release Me at my housemate's birthday party.
That is cool.
That is iconic.
Anyway, buzzing to be here. One of our friends messaged us to ask us if this new outlet was going to make our football group chat less hectic. And I have to say, Hannah, we cannot make any promises.
If anything, Hannah, absolutely it will not. We'll just be bringing even more hectic energy to all of the group
well,
chats.
exactly. But honestly, I'm just thrilled that thanks to producer Jessie, our podcast has made it out the group chat.
Who ever thought we'd get here? Before we get started properly, just to really dig in on what we love about women's football, should we go around the group? Who was the first player that really sort of caught your attention, inspired you, made you love the game? Go on, Maya, you went last. You can start this time.
Mine is Rachel Yankee. Always thought she was amazing growing up, and she was the first ever player to get a professional contract at Fulham. So, yeah, goals, basically.
Goals.
Yeah.
Goals.
Mine
Great
is
choice.
so cliched, but it is Kelly Smith. I can remember when I was a kid and just doing like football summer camps. And there was one I went on to, and it was the first one I'd ever been on that was just girls, because I was always like one of two or three, or maybe even the only girl on these football camps. And on the Friday, they gathered everybody around and they said, "Got a surprise. We've got some cool people in to come see you." And it was Kelly Smith, and it was
As you
Rachel,
do.
as you do. It was also Rachel Yankee, and it was also a third person, and I can't remember who it was. So really,
Too
apologies.
starstruck by the other two.
Yeah, it was probably someone equally as famous, but getting to see and meet Kelly Smith in real life was a real like, oh my god, this is a real thing, and it's super exciting. And maybe it could have led me being a lifelong Arsenal fan, but it did not.
Such a shame.
Liverpool was already embedded even at
We
that
almost
early
had
age.
you. We almost had you.
Unfortunately, being part of the post-Euros generation
It's
of
not
women's
unfortunate,
football
Honor.
fans,
Just live your truth.
I would say my first big football icon was Leah Williamson.
So cliched.
You're not the first, you won't be the last.
I
honestly.
guess I am just like other girls.
And that feels like we are properly introduced by now. So everyone feeling good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Feel
Right.
good.
Let's get stuck in. So the WSL will be back next weekend after its Christmas break.
Yeah, for those who don't know, while men's football in the UK carries on through the winter, the women's leagues always have a break.
And while a lot of teams have been back in action this weekend in the Women's FA Cup, although not as many as expected with how many games have been cancelled, we wanted to take an opportunity for a little mid-season review of the WSL. Nothing to do with the fact we've only launched midway through the season. Going to dig in some of our highlights from the first half of the season, who's impressed us, who hasn't. There's a lot to dig into. But if you guys don't mind, I think we should start with the players who've really caught our eye this season. Who wants to chuck a name into the mix first?
I know I'm biased, but super happy that Alessia Russo is back on form. Feels like she's back to that Euros super sub fearlessness that we saw back in 2022. I think when she first moved to Arsenal, there was obviously kind of loads of expectation, loads of pressure. Obviously, like the camp wasn't that happy with Jonas. And so we didn't...
No, really, there was problems with Jonas.
So we didn't ever really see her at her best until kind of the past few months where she's been like absolutely incredible. Such a joy to watch. And I think she got voted Player of the Month and Goal of the Month last month, actually.
Yeah.
So good for her.
Clean sweep of the awards. It has been exciting seeing her. It felt like I was a little bit worried because obviously Russo and Toon had such a baited part of the Euros, and then it felt like neither of you really quite kicked on.
Yeah, Toon didn't play well last season, to be fair.
And then Russo has just been sort of like not plateauing, it felt like, but it was like, oh, this is not where I thought you'd go. And then all of a sudden she's realised that she can put her shooting boots on and she can score.
Totally. She didn't have the confidence to take those chances, like that sexy little back heel and all that kind of thing. Like it didn't feel like she felt she was capable of doing that sort of thing, but she is just like taking those chances now and it's paying off. So.
And Jonas kept playing Stina, who could miss an open goal.
Who, bless her, also could score some screamers, but you just never knew what you were going to get with her.
She's the most Tottenham player to not play for Tottenham, I think you might ever see.
An icon.
What about you, Anna? Who's impressed you this season?
Well, looking at West Ham, there's not actually been a lot to be impressed by. But, however, I think a little gem has been Manuela Pavi, Colombian international. So much energy, wants to make things happen. And, yeah, she's got a great link-up going on now with Vivier. It's going to be an interesting second half of the season to see what more she can do.
The one highlight we've seen at the Chigwell Construction Stadium. There's not... that and the pot noodles. There's not been many highlights down at Chigwell. I'm going to break the tradition. I'm not going to pick a Liverpool player, because who's impressed me the most this season is probably Jess Park. This feels like the Jess Park season.
100%.
Club and country. Oh my God, that little pocket rocket, she is truly the Frank Herbier. I know I would be absolutely fuming if I was playing against her, and I would probably want to pull her back by a ponytail.
Again,
Georgia Stanway.
Confirm.
I'm really going to build myself a reputation here on the podcast. But just, it feels like every game she's playing, apart from the City Everton game just before Christmas, Jess Park is just like, she is directing things. She's bossing the pitch. She is making things happen. And she's doing the same for England. And I feel like looking ahead a couple of months in the Euros, it's going to be her moment to shine. Another name I want to chuck out is Tony Payne.
Yeah.
Oh my God, pace for days. And just watching her absolutely terrify defences. The moment, I mean, I will say maybe there could be some decision-making work going on.
Yeah, like in the Chelsea game when she could have got them a win.
Yeah, she probably could have had a hat-trick in that game. And some of the decision-making...
I have my head in my hands.
Yeah. Like, you're never going to get an opportunity as good as this. But
to make those opportunities, yeah.
There are wingers in the WSL who have been promised to have incredible pace and light the game up, which we have yet to see. But
mentioning no names
yet, because we shouldn't start on a bad note. But Tony Payne, I think if she can really combine a bit more clinical nature, a bit more of a good head on her shoulders, then she is absolutely gonna take the league by storm next season. Obviously, it's also been a season full of manager changes. We alluded to everyone's favourite man, Jonas, departing North London for the sunny shores of California. How that man has failed upwards is incredible to witness. But it has opened the door for everyone's new favourite, Renee. Maya, I feel like you're bursting at the seams to talk about Renee.
I'm ready. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Renee. I also know Honor is too. She actually makes Honor Week at the news. But apart from being absolutely gorgeous, I don't think she's necessarily changed many of our tactics, to be honest, apart from starting Kyra Cooney Cross, my absolute fave. But she just seems to have changed the mentality. Like they seem like a different team. Like finally we're winning games. It's all a bit mad the way they haven't really told us who's in the running, or they said it was Nick Cushing and then Nick Cushing said it definitely wasn't him, and it's all been a bit of a mess, to be honest, in terms of the comms. But it seems like they're coming to a decision, and I think she's apparently had a final interview, and I think she deserves that. Like,
I mean, it's partly that she deserves it, but also who else would you put in?
That's the thing. Like, are they not telling us the names because maybe there's
There's no other names.
There's no names.
I
It's
wanted Casey Stoney, but it's very clear it's not going to be her.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't have minded Carla Ward, but I had a couple of interviews with her and she wants to stay up north. So, yeah, I don't really know who else it would be. And Renee is doing really well. So
Yeah. You might as well ride out that high.
yeah.
Let her cook.
It's Honours manifesto there. And, you know, she's not the only new manager that's been taking the league by storm. I mean, everyone was sort of hoping Chelsea would have a bloody hiccup, wouldn't they? And they thought, no, you know what, we're going to follow on Emma and just still be incredible. And Bonpastor will just, you know, step right into that vacancy.
I really thought we were going to see something from such a massive cultural change for that team. Like, Emma's been there for 12 years. I'm a huge fan of Emma Hayes. But, like, I wasn't sure how Chelsea would hold up, but I thought we would see them falter at least. But they seem to have done better than they ever like, Leicester game aside, they seem to have done better than they sort of ever have.
It's really quite frustrating.
Yeah. Like, what do we need to do to be better than Chelsea?
I mean, impressive, but like said that through gritted teeth.
Yeah, but I mean, they also do have an absolutely killer squad with infinite depth. It seems amazing.
And great signings.
Funding,
Great
signings.
summer signings.
Obviously a great team behind them.
I was kind of hoping, because it feels like the league's been way more competitive this season. Even if you look at the league table, you might think not. It's sort of the same teams in the same similar order to what you'd expect. But actually, the matches themselves feel a lot closer. Like Palace have given a lot of teams a really good run despite being bottom of the table.
Definitely.
And yet Chelsea's storming it.
You know, people say the table doesn't lie. It does a bit because you've got Man United doing all right. And when you watch them on the pitch,
completely uninspiring.
it's quite uncomfortable to see.
I think they're driven by spite, though. I think they're only doing well just to really spite Jim Ratcliffe, because he's made it so clear he does not care about the women's team.
That's true, and big up the players because they're doing a great job in the face
playing
of
in that environment.
their situation.
What about a little thoughts on our own team? I mean, Honor, you've alluded to what you've thought of West Ham's season so far, but do you want to really drive it home?
It's so disappointing, but it's also not disappointing because I didn't have any expectations in the first place. Yet another season where they deserve to be relegated, but sadly, I think they will be safe yet again. As I said about Pavi, there's some promising moments and players who are impressing me. It's good to have Gori back from injury. She was a great signing last January. Vivia is keeping the goals ticking along, as she does. But, she's really not the most clinical or consistent striker. So
I think West Ham are just doing a really good exercise in succession planning. Like, that's why they bought Christie. Between Christie and Minnie Gori, there's going to be a future West Ham team there in about 20 years' time.
Don't forget Dagny as well.
Yep.
We've got her two little ones as well. So, I mean, that's a great side of the club, that they're really supportive of players having kids.
Yeah.
And that's attractive to players, as Katrina Gorey said, that she was attracted to West Ham because she knew she'd heard how good they were with Dagny when she'd had her children.
But it feels like the team itself every season just does just enough to stay up.
Just enough. And I think, unfortunately, with the investment they've got and with Rhiann Skinner still being in her role as a manager, there's definitely a ceiling on what they can go on to achieve.
She's really not having good luck in the WSL, is she?
Well, I mean, if you go to Spurs and then go to West Ham, you're not really going to... It says a lot about what people expect from you as a manager, really.
Yeah.
No bigger club. There's been a lot of bigger clubs that have had managerial changes and no one's going in for Rhiann.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, Rhiann.
She's
sorry,
very
Rhiann.
nice. But I also...
I've
sometimes her attitude... It's all like, oh, the players tried their best and we're getting somewhere. And it's like, no,
you're
not getting anywhere.
Yeah, you need to expect more.
There's been no real sign of progression from, I think, West Ham. Like, individual players have raised their levels, but as a team, nothing's changing.
I wonder if they were relegated, something would have to change.
You'd have to shake
but
them up.
because they're sort of sitting there mid to bottom, there's never a reason for like the higher ups to make a change.
Yeah.
Also, just knowing West Ham's owners, like it's just... seems an impossible ask.
Has Karen Brady ever been down to a women's game?
I don't know, actually. I might have to look into that because I can't picture it somehow.
No.
Her in Dagenham.
With a little pot noodle and a Mars bar watching the women.
Slurping the pot noodle juice at the end.
Wonder what Karen Brady, what her flavour would be, what pot noodle. Like, that's important topics we're covering here from the start.
Yeah, if anyone's got a Karen Brady contact,
let us know.
Let us know.
All right, Maya, what are you saying about Arsenal?
I mean, it looked bleak at the beginning of the season. If I take myself back there, not that I want to, But yeah, Jonas had to go.
Mm-hmm.
He resigned, but I'm sure he would have been made to leave soon. It should have come sooner, I feel. But anyway, it feels like we're now kicking on, which is great and really exciting. And yeah, we're going to get the quadruple. So
The quadruple.
yeah, so it's looking great.
Yeah, that's it. He's going to go from
Sorry, can I just remind you, we're the only women's team to have done that. So we're going to do it for the second time.
Fair enough.
Don't
I love
underestimate
your
us.
confidence.
We're coming.
If anyone could do it, it's Renee.
If anyone could do it, it's Renee. It's not, Chelsea who look like they're going to storm everyone who comes before them.
Pride comes before a fall, Jessie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, how could I forget? I mean, Jonas should absolutely have gone sooner because the results were crap and the tactics were crap. But it did feel like it was the fan, the sort of
Yeah, we all hated him.
Yeah, negativity.
We did all hate him. But that was partly because... I didn't hate him. He's a really nice guy. But it just felt uninspiring. No, I would hate to say I hate someone because I don't. But it was frustrating because it was like we went out every game and did the same thing and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't change it within the game and it still wasn't working. I remember when we played, I think it was Liverpool, we had something like 22 corners and we didn't score.
That's because our defence is magnificent. What are you talking about?
No, come on. It was insane. It was the most frustrating. That, by the way, those stats are completely wrong, but it was something like that. But sometimes watching the Arsenal players as well on the pitch during the Jonas era, they just looked like they didn't care.
Yeah.
And they look so different playing now. So, even that is worth it.
Yeah,
and look, he's got a great new job, so it's worked out for everyone.
Good for him.
I mean, it has.
Also, he did
well.
provide us with some kind of iconic women's football culture breakthrough with the Jonas out graffiti.
Yeah,
the fans.
Exactly.
Oh,
it was big steps for the women's game.
Yeah, big steps.
As for Liverpool, it's not particularly been an exciting season for us. I think there's been some games we've played really well, and it's been really fun to watch football. I was hoping we'd kick on this season. Last season we did our investment in the facilities and we bought back Melwood for the women, and it was like, oh, okay, there's really serious investment going in. We're going to get good facilities, and you could see the immediate impact that had, both on inspiring the players and just having good places to good facilities to use. And then this season, it's like, we can just ride this out now, right? We don't need to change anything else. We don't really need to recruit anybody other than Olivia Smith and hope that she can single-handedly...
It's like, yes, this star girl is going to change everything.
Yeah.
She is great.
She's great, but she's also a teenager.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to put on her shoulders. It feels like there needs to be now a more concerted investment in players, because I'm tired of watching this gap between us and Manchester United open up. Before we wrap up our mid-season review, just quickly, what were your highest of highs and lowest of lows from the first half of this season? Anna, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, my peak and pit. Disclaimer, not WSL, because there's nothing about West Ham that I feel excited about. But I think Wales qualifying for the Euros is just such buzz. I'm so happy for them. And then to draw them in our group as well. That was really good. Pitt, probably Mark Skinner, Jim Ratcliffe, all the United stuff, just this big dark cloud over the vibes of the WSL. Stop being horrible.
It felt like Mark Skinner was finally going to start being in trouble, and then the worst man in the world bought Man United. And, to have a manager who seems to be quite apathetic about his own women's team, to be supported by an owner who...
So publicly as well.
So publicly.
Yeah.
It's infuriating.
It's just so disrespectful to a bunch of professional
I can't imagine
football
how it
players.
must feel for them, yeah.
I mean...
deflating.
It's just disgusting, and there should be a level of... I'm not sure why I'm surprised by Manchester United, but there should be a level of owners have to set out their plans for the men's and the women's team. If you're going to come in, you're buying a club. You are not buying a men's team with some women who play on the side attached. Put your focus and your attentions onto both of the clubs. Anyway,
yeah, I agree. Well, my pit was very easy. It was travelling all the way to Munich to watch us get battered by Bayern Munich. That was kind of awful.
I somehow knew you were going to choose that.
Listen, if you'll insist on doing a mad one and going to a Champions League game in the middle of the week, I don't think, against someone who used to play for Chelsea, what did you think was going to happen?
Well, do you know what? She looked so bad in the first half, and I said to my girlfriend, that's so weird. Pernilla Harder just looks so off, and then she must have heard me, because then she scored a hat-trick in the second half. It was awful.
I do find that the players you talk shit about are always the ones who then go and do something. I always used to try and not that she would ever be able to hear me from the stands, but game Frank Kirby into doing things for England games. Frank Kirby needs to come off, and then guarantee within 5 minutes she'll score. Yeah, okay, it's worked again.
I'd rather have it that way around. And then my peak, I'm not going to be petty and say my peak was Jonas leaving Arsenal,
Be petty.
but I have to say it was Jonas leaving Arsenal.
I think many people would agree with you there, to be honest. I think the only people that wouldn't were like everyone who enjoyed making the TikToks about Jonas. My this is something that we've all started with. Well, you and I both started with Pits, but
mine was scarring, honestly.
Oh, not as scarring as mine, which was the 1-0 loss to Everton.
Oh yeah,
the penalty that was, what was it, 3 foot, 4 foot outside the box?
Yeah, that was bad.
I actually knew you were going to pick this as well.
Well, I mean, how could I not? It was like
Okay, you two have quite clear, grim.
We're just emotional girlies. What can I say?
We just hold grudges and don't ever stop talking about things. I think is what the issue is.
That was awful. I felt for you. I did feel for you.
It was. I mean, I'm sure we'll come on to it at some point in the podcast. The state of refereeing in the WSL. It's a conversation that has been had over and over and over again.
When the ref blew the whistle, she was outside of the box. What?
We are very lucky that we were not doing a podcast at the time, because I would have spent 40 minutes just raging about that, calling for the heads of every single referee on that game.
Watch out, referees, don't make any more mistakes the rest of the season.
Yeah, I will be on a one-woman tirade. My highlight of the season is kind of more general than it is about like one specific moment, but it has, I think, been Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace have been really exciting to watch. I said earlier that obviously you look at their position in the table, bottom of the table, you think probably at risk of relegation. But seeing a team who's come up and been competitive and tried to play games and tried to like get results in a way that they want to play, I think has been a really promising sign. Who knew Palace would be my highlight for the season?
I love that. So we couldn't call ourselves Screamers without talking about goals. So each episode, Honor, Jessie and me will nominate our own Screamer of the week. And then at the end of the month, we'll get you to vote on the best of the bunch.
Football's newest, most prestigious award, move over Ballon d'Or.
And just to kick things off, because I want to justify watching all the endless goal compilations that we've all been watching over Christmas, we are going to pick out our Screamers of the WSL season so far. And I just wanted to say before we start, there are a few sort of rules.
Oh,
sorry, the PE teacher's on her soapbox.
I know you thought this was going to be fun, but so it has to be an actual screamer. So it can't be like a little tap in or something.
She's got a whole spreadsheet of rules here, ladies and gentlemen.
But don't you think? I think it needs to qualify as a screamer.
Yeah,
like as one of my friends says, it has to be the goals that made us scream.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I have screamed a tap in, but I
so
know
true.
You've
so
got
true.
to clutch at straws when you're a West Ham fan.
That's so true.
It's if it gets that visceral noise out of you, they're like, "Ugh!" That's the screamer. That can be the screamer siren.
So who wants to go first?
I am happy to. I realised when I was thinking about the goals I have loved from the first half of the season was they're all ones that were scored against Spurs. Honourable shout outs to Johanna Ritter-Kaneryd from Chelsea and Turland from Man U for 2 outstanding volleys. Both of them.
Yes,
had no
I had
right in
Kaneryd's
scoring.
volley.
The Ritter
at
Kaneryd.
Kings Meadow.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
good with that Millie Bright whipping that ball in.
I know.
Oh my
What
god.
a cross. I think Turland's one was like in terms of a volley because the ball was behind her as well. She had no right making that volley and hitting it as sweetly as she did. But whereas I have not been, shouting at Liverpool thus far, I am going to pick some Liverpool goals as my screamers of the season. Again, both against Spurs. I think it's partly that I was there, which also always adds when you see a scream in person and you get to do the visceral reaction. So my second place would be Hobinger's free kick against Spurs.
Incredible.
That was on my
Herbie
short
fully
list.
That was
loaded.
my honourable mention.
That was just the whip on that
Gorgeous.
free kick. But it's got to be Kapux's debut goal in the WSL for Liverpool. Dreadful mistake from Spencer in Spurs' goal. Passed the ball straight out to our Cornelia, who thought, no, have that back, and just whipped it from about 25 yards, lobbed the keeper straight into the net. That is my screamer of the season so far. Honor, what about you?
I had a list of 6 because I couldn't narrow it down. So Maya, go first, and maybe you'll
Okay.
tick off one of mine.
Yeah. Jessie's actually done 2 of my honourable mentions, which
Same.
was Ritter-Kaneryd and Herbinger.
Same.
So Jess Park versus Crystal Palace.
Is that the one that hit the crossbar?
No,
That's
that
the
was
Arsenal
that was the
one.
Arsenal one. Obviously, I can't pick that one, 'cause but it's a similar sort of goal, like top left corner. This one was outside the penalty box. It was so amazing, and yeah, the Emirates one was great, but I can't choose that because it feels illegal. But in that game, Man City, Arsenal at the Emirates. Frida Marnham as well scored an absolute banger.
That was a screamer.
She only scores screamers.
She does.
No
She
tap-ins for Frida.
Never scored a basic goal in her life.
She's basically an honourable podcast member at this point.
Yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with her. She kind of looks like one of our football teammates.
She really does.
Who's one of my best friends.
And also scores
of 10
screamers.
years, and it just makes me adore her.
Go on, Anna. So what have you got left?
Okay, so firstly, I want to do a special mention to Kiko Seke for her hat-trick on the very first day of the season and her WSL debut versus Everton. Yeah, Jessie, I'm sure you'll love that. But yeah, unreal. What an achievement. She scored 2 absolute screamers and a cheeky header as well.
What a way
This
to announce
season is gonna
yourself.
like Kiko has arrived. Okay, next on the list is Lauren Hemp versus Aston Villa, where she sets it up for herself with a header away from the goal after the keeper's punched it out. And then she kind of finishes it with a no-look, backwards, sideways, overhead kick.
I remember.
You know what I
this
mean?
one.
And it just loops into the goal.
She doesn't even look.
She is magic. Like, her anticipation for that. Like, how could she have envisioned that? It's just pure hempo.
I love our Lego Queen, but do we think she meant it?
Yes.
I do.
No.
You?
You could see in her eyes. She meant it. Honestly, I think she's like one of the only players to have the confidence to just know that she'll finish that.
Yeah, fair.
The way
She's got the youthful confidence on her side.
I know. I do forget how young she still is.
She is
yeah,
young.
exactly.
Like, there's going to be years of if provided the knees hold out, there's going to be years of Lauren Hemp dominance. If I'd have tried that, it would have ended up in a different postcode, I think.
So, okay, that's a roundup of screams of the season so far. Just so you know, from now on, we are only going to be able to pick one. So it's going to be tough.
Fine.
We've all come with about 6.
Yeah. So that's one a week.
Yeah, fair enough. One a week.
Yeah, that about wraps up part 1. So we'll get back into it after this.
January doesn't just mean football's back, it also means the transfer window is open and a few clubs have been making moves already. So let's have a look at which ones have been interesting so far. First of all, I was thinking Scottish Sam Kerr has...
Scottish Sam
Kerr specifically.
That's a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard people use other adjectives to describe her.
That's just rude.
Pale Sam Kerr.
That's just rude.
I'll leave that to you.
Anyway, Scottish Sam Kerr has arrived in Liverpool on loan from Bayern Munich. Jessie, what are your thoughts?
I'm very excited by the signing. I also feel so sorry for Sam Kerr that she's basically been written out of her own transfer because it's in so many people being like, wait, which Sam Kerr? But I think it's really exciting. I think we're quite strong in midfield. I think it's probably the area of our squad that we are the strongest, but I will never say no to more reinforcements. And the bits we've seen of Sam playing at Bayern, I think will be a sort of another engine in midfield and really hopefully link up with our team quite well. Who knows? Maybe it's setting the ground for a permanent signing in the summer. It probably isn't, but a girl can dream.
You never know. Okay, next up, Rebecca Knack from FC Rosengard to Man City. They got this little bit of business done right at the start of the transfer window. Got in this amazing German defender.
Quick replacement for Alex Greenwood while she's out. Smart.
They needed something. They need to reinforce the squad.
I read that she won Defender of the Year in her Swedish league.
She did,
last
yeah.
year.
And have you
she
seen
scored
how much
12 goals.
She was in the running for like Golden Boot in the league, which is insane.
Yeah.
Move over, Bunny Shaw. We don't need your goal scoring anymore.
She's coming to the WSL. That's cool.
It is. 18-month deal, so that should tide them over.
And then a Greenwood Kanak duo will be quite promising.
Terrifying.
But quite promising when it comes to defence for City.
Woohoo. Okay, next up, Hayley Ladd from Man United to Everton. I think this makes sense. She wasn't really getting minutes at Man United.
Barely played 3 minutes,
ridiculous.
4 minutes, bench, 1 minute. It's mental.
Go from being like one of the most regular starters. Didn't she play every match or something in the previous 2 seasons?
Yeah.
And has gone down to playing nothing.
But Mark Skinner always does this, doesn't he? He picks the starting 11 and he barely rotates at Man U.
That's because he's not a very good manager.
But it's good for her to get playing time. She's got a massive summer coming up with Wales and the Euros.
Yeah.
She needs to get playing time. I think this is a really good move for her as well.
I think it's a great move. And something quite funny happened as well, that this was leaked on TikTok.
Shout out to Everton.
Yeah, shout out Everton socials team. We imagine that the team may have scheduled this one to go out.
Yeah, just dropped on a really professionally shot signing video, just dropped on Everton TikTok. And
Before they announced?
Before they announced it, before United announced it, like before any of their other channels had it.
That's so good.
You could argue it was a kind of sneak surprise announcement if it wasn't the fact that it was only on TikTok.
Did they then delete it and then repost it on TikTok?
They left it up for quite a while. I don't know. I think they then scrambled to make the announcement, so it's like unclear.
That's so funny.
I mean, I would say it's the most Woso thing ever to happen, but I'm pretty sure men's teams have done that too. But just spoiling your own high-profile signing is hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, beyond signings, what else is on your wish list for women's football in 2025?
Mine is for Durham to beat Chelsea in the Subway Cup quarter-final.
Come on, Durham.
Honestly, because if they did, which they won't, but if they did, they would then get Spurs or West Ham in the semi-final, and it's not possible that they'd then get.
I think Durham are going all the way.
Durham are going all the way.
Mainly because there's absolutely no way Chelsea are going to be able to play at Maiden Castle. I'm sorry, you take Chelsea to a pitch of that quality, they are going to be out of their
falling
bloody
over
minds.
their feet.
Yeah. Sorry, what do you mean I've kicked the ball and it's just stopped? There's just a divot and it's just stopped in. No, this is not our pristine Kings Meadow pitch. Sorry.
That's my wish, is big cup upsets.
Yeah, go on, Durham.
FA Cup, Subway Cup, I'll take it.
I'm with you. I love a cup upset. For me, thinking of West Ham again, it would be great if after all this time West Ham could finally play at the London Stadium. However, it could also be absolutely horrific vibes because the stadium sucks, to put it nicely. Also, that's just obviously not happening this season, and especially not next season if they get relegated. So
I think they're not going to get relegated.
No, you're not going to. But I think that would be hilarious. So they play the first match at the London Stadium in the Championship.
Oh my god,
brilliant!
Oh my god.
I mean, I've already mentioned that I want Liverpool to invest in our squad over the summer, so that's on my serious wish list. I think it'd be really fun to see. There's still a bunch of English teams in the running for the Champions League final. I think it'd be really exciting to see an English team in the final.
I agree.
I mean,
I've got a good chance.
The numbers are there, like 3
Statistically,
out of 8. One of them should hopefully get that. I mean, Chelsea will inevitably face Barcelona because it is not a Champions League season without Chelsea getting their arse handed to them by Barcelona. But
they've got Sam Kerr coming back. Lauren James going to come back. Mia Fisher's coming back
today.
Yeah,
she's back today.
In the
well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So they're only going from strength to strength.
It could, and you know, there's Arsenal still in the league, City still in.
Don't write us off.
only English teams have won the Women's Champions League.
Exactly.
As you cling to every season. I want one of them because I'll be in Lisbon for the Champions League final, so it'd be quite fun.
I hope to be too.
I don't know what
fancy it.
Yeah, come to Lisbon, guys.
Yeah, I'm planning on it.
I'm
just assuming you guys will also go.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely there. Have been there for the past. I was in Bilbao last year, Rotterdam the year before. So Champions League trips are my go-to these days. I'm not sure if I would actually be able to bring myself to cheer for Chelsea if they did get through, but it would be fun seeing.
Depends who else was in the final.
Depends on the opponent. Yeah.
If it was Chelsea, Real Madrid, I kind of want both teams to lose. I know that's not possible, but that would be.
Yeah.
My other one is for Lindsay Horan to stop doing bicycle kicks because it's deeply, deeply embarrassing. I need to stop seeing it.
It's painful.
So before we go, we're going to take a quick look at our Woso Community Noticeboard, which is basically our chance to shout out some of the stuff we've spotted in the wider world of women's football, whether that's Stan, Twitter, international news, clubs spoiling their own transfers, or you messaging us and telling us something exciting and salacious from the world.
Salacious? Ooh. All of the grassroots gossip. I heard such and such is dating such and such.
You could just tell us that because we'll be interested. But anyway.
We can be your chaos merchants. If there's some gossip you want to get out there, guys.
Let us know.
Just let us know.
Does anybody have any notices?
We touched on it earlier, but Stamford Bridge are going to be doing bottomless brunch for the Chelsea-Arsenal game. For all of the football Huns, I think it's the most hilarious thing. But also, how has this not happened before? How has no club thought, you know what? We can get the football girlies in with
Yeah, I know.
endless prosecco. It'll be a side of hooliganism that has not been seen before. A bunch of football girlies screaming bloody murder, sloshing porn star martinis everywhere. But I am so here for it. It's so ridiculous, and I love it so much.
They've got to do something to build the fan base, honestly.
I mean, currently, I think the number of away fans is going to outnumber the amount of home fans at Chelsea. So
They've given us a tiny allowance, to be honest.
I know, it's
already sold
ridiculous. So I think we should just go for the bottomless brunch.
Yeah.
Does anyone have an idea how much it costs? I have the details for the Bridge Brunch Club for women's matches. Treat yourself to a luxury padded seating just off the halfway line at Stamford Bridge with outstanding hospitality located in the Harris Suite. And you can have a Prosecco cocktail station, beer, wine, or soft and hot drinks. An interactive chef-led gourmet foot-long hot dog station with a range of brunch-themed toppings. It's not quite what I envisioned, really, when you said, like, you know, Chelsea Football Club, a little bit posh. I thought it might be more than...
I was picturing eggs Benedict, not foot-long hot dogs.
Well, you can top your foot-long hot dogs with scrambled egg, bacon bits, avocado, and waffle fries. How much do we think this is? So 2.5 hours of bottomless brunch, presumably bottomless hot dogs.
50 quid?
No, it is more than £50 a person.
75.
I'm presuming this also includes your match ticket as well.
Yeah.
£170 a person.
What?
Who is this aimed
Yeah,
at?
who do they think's going?
I have absolutely no idea.
A hot dog.
It's maybe the best bloody hot dog you ever have.
I also do have one notice, which is that Martha Thomas, who I've always had a soft spot for, got married over the Christmas holidays.
I did
So
see that.
congratulations to Martha
Congrats.
Thomas.
There were so many winter
There were actually
weddings.
so many weddings, yeah.
I mean,
were.
all of the Tillys united for
Yeah,
for
Emily
their
Van
one.
Egmond.
Interesting fashion choices that were dissected thoroughly on
the
Twitter,
group chat.
on the group chat,
On the group
on
chat,
Twitter.
on the internet.
Honor, anything you want to put on the notice board?
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Brighton, who are building their own stadium, UK's first ever purpose-built women's stadium. Which
Amazing.
is massive.
So
Obviously,
exciting.
you know, Man City have got the joy.
The joy.
But that's also for the academy team and all sorts of other
I
things.
really like the Joy. I think it's really cool.
I've never been, actually. I'd love to go.
I've been twice.
Let's
It's
go.
really cool.
Let's
We
go,
should
guys. I want to experience the joy. But yeah, this is just for the women's team. So congrats to Brighton. They're really getting a lot of things right this season.
Feels like they're building in a really sustainable way as well. They're not just chucking loads of money
Yeah.
at the club and hoping they'll immediately. It's like staggered and they're doing it well. So
Good choices.
big ups, Brighton.
They're making good choices.
Making good choices. That is all we have got time for on Screamers this week. We will be back next Tuesday, digging into the first weekend of league fixtures, the latest transfers, and looking ahead to the League Cup quarterfinals. But until then,
You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, or the socials at @screamers_pod. Or if you've got something to add to the notice board, you can email us at screamerspod@gmail.com.
And subscribe to Screamers wherever you get your podcasts so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop.
woo! We did it, guys!
Goodbye.
Goodbye.